everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Heathen Vegan. On today's episode, I'm going to share with you my recipe for tofu scramble. Before we actually get into the video, there's a couple of things I'd like to say for a minute or so. The first is in the video, I was trying out a new cheese product, and I want to let you know that it actually was really good, and it really made this recipe stand out and pop. Another thing I'd like to just bring up real quick is my gratitude and my appreciation for you guys that are out there that are liking my videos, that are subscribing to my channel, and just the words of encouragement that I have actually experienced so far starting this. I started this channel when I first got furloughed back in March for this pandemic that's going on. And I'm just trying to be productive. I'm trying to get out there healthy ways to eat that actually are good for you and taste good for you. And I just want to let you know that your support is greatly appreciated. And you guys, I'm going to stop being mushy and we're going to get into the video. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in for this week's episode of The Heathen Vegan. This week, I'm going to be sharing with you my recipe for tofu scramble. It's a pretty versatile dish. I always start off every single one of my videos showing you the ingredients I'm going to use in case you do want to go out to the store and buy these ingredients and try it for yourself. As always, you don't have to follow what I'm doing exactly to the T. This is just mostly like guidelines, ideas, so that those of you out there who do want to start eating healthier and, you know, don't really know where to start, or you don't really know the products that are out there, or you just think that it's not going to taste good, this is definitely the channel for you. I like to put out there good quality food that tastes great. Okay, got that out of the way. Now let's get on to our ingredients. It's a tofu scramble, so I'm going to start off with my tofu. I'm using Nasoya's organic tofu. It's super firm. I always use super firm for those. So let me try that again. So for those of you that don't really know a lot about tofu, your first impression is you're probably making a face saying, "Ooh, it has no taste." It's true. Tofu in its natural form absolutely 100% does not have any taste. How you cook the tofu depends on what type of taste it's going to have. Now this could range from if you wanted like General Tso's chicken, or if you wanted, say, a barbecue type thing. You can cook tofu anyway. It's very versatile, and it takes on the flavor that you cook it with. Today I'm making like a breakfast dish. It could be an anytime dish. It could be a dinner dish. It doesn't really matter. Like I like to say, use your artistic license. Now, we got that out of the way. And I also want to let you know, in case you don't know that much about tofu, that it does come in different firmnesses. It comes from silken, which is really great for making like milkshakes, or if you want to try making a vegan chocolate pudding. I use the silken tofu for that. What I like to use besides the silken tofu is I like to use super firm. There's also firm. I think there's another base on there. And then there's the one that I have. This right here is really great because it retains its shape, especially if you want to do like cubed type recipes where you're going to transform it into like a barbecue type shabab, or if you're going to turn it into like a General Tso's chicken for a Chinese dish. And then, so I have something new that I want to share with you. I haven't used this yet. I was at the store the other day and I found this product. It's called Treeline tree nut cheese. This right here is 100% vegan. It is also gluten-free. I guess they put a little bit of probiotics in there. I'm not too sure how I feel about that, but I guess I'll figure it out as I go. There is no palm oil in here. It's also soy-free. So I did research this a little bit and Google it and see what they're about. I guess they take a lot of pride in the type of products that they put out. And each one is, I don't know if you can see or not. I'm afraid to zoom in my camera because I'm still having issues on figuring out how the camera works. I'm not too sure because when I take the recording and then I put it into the video editing software, everything looks great. And then all of a sudden I render it and I have this like extreme close-up that I just don't want. So if anybody knows anything about either my camera or Adobe Premiere, please feel free to leave a comment down below and help me out because I'm really kind of struggling with that. Okay, so with this product, I guess, so this is scallion. There's actually plain cream cheese, and then there's another flavor too that I don't remember at the moment. But apparently these are like brew batches where they're using real where they're using like real herbs in their batches. They're just not like using flavorings or seasonings or well, obviously they're using seasonings. I might have to cut that out, who knows. But they're taking real herbs, like real fresh herbs, and they're infusing it into these products, which to me I think is just wonderful, because the more wholesome you can eat, the better it is for you. The less, preservatives, additives, chemicals that you're putting inside yourself. And you got to take care of yourself, guys. That's like numero uno right there. And now, for what I'm going to put in my tofu scramble, obviously you don't have to put in yours, if you don't like broccoli or if you don't like spinach, because I am going to put spinach in there. I have Olivia's Organics baby spinach. This stuff is so good. And then I have, my favorite Stop and Shop green beans. I have broccoli, and I also have kale. Then I have my mop ingredients, if you guys remember that from before. That's mushroom, onions, and peppers. How I'm going to work this is, because I just don't want to like throw the tofu in there and start cooking it up. I want to get a flavor base going in my frying pan before I actually put the tofu in, because I find that if I do it that way, then the flavor of the tofu actually is a little bit more potent. It's not just like, oh, this is kind of good. Oh, no, now it's tofu again. So I'm going to get my pan set up, and then I'll be back in a minute. I just put my mop ingredients along with the garlic clove that I just chopped up into my pan. And I'm going to let these guys cook a little bit till they're somewhat soft, because I still have to put in the broccoli and I still have to put in the green beans, because I want, obviously everything to cook at the same pace. So I got to put in, so I have to put in the ingredients that are going to take the longest to cook, because like I said, this is going to be a really easy, super dish. So my kale and my spinach will go in afterwards. The tofu I'm going to put in after I get the main vegetables to the point that I like them cooked. Now, for the base that I'm going to use to get this season is, I want, even though there's a lot of vegetables, like kind of a lot of like dense vegetables going into this recipe, I do want it to have a light feel to it. So as always, I'm going to use my extra virgin olive oil. That's really the only oil that I cook with. I put in a little bit of Holland House's white cooking wine. And then I put in I haven't put in the bouillon cube yet, but I'm going to put it in, I think, after when I start putting the rest of the ingredients for the sauce into there. So I'm going to be using Garden Veggies bouillon cube. It's by the same company that makes the not beef bouillon cubes, and I know that I've showed you that a couple of times. A lot of my recipes in the past, I've showed you that. I know in a lot of recipes in the past, I've used it, excuse me, and I showed you that as part of the ingredients. Right now, this is starting to saute really good. The heat for this I have on like a medium-high. I'm about to turn it down so that I can go and cut up the vegetables that need to be cut up, that have to be in here, so that they're a good texture. And as soon as I get that in there, I'll be right back. Can you hear that? Crackle, crackle, crackle. So my vegetables are almost to the point that I want them to be before I actually put in the rest of the seasonings in the tofu. But what I wanted to show you real quick before I actually opened up my tofu is, if you're not familiar with tofu, this is going to be a messy process. So what to cut along the side, because if you can see, it's like packed with water. So if you're not familiar with tofu products and you go to go open this up, you are going to make a mess, and you're probably going to get some tofu water splattered on you. And, my friends, I prefer if that didn't happen to you guys. So I'm going to go and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to cut it into cubes. And when I finally get it into the frying pan, I'm going to use my spatula, and I'm going to like stab at it so that it's, because I don't really want it to cubes. I want it to look more like a scrambled egg type thing. I know, right? Why don't I just use scrambled eggs? No, I'm just kidding. All right, I'll be right back. That looks so yummy. I just put the kale in. I don't know if you can see the color of the sauce that's in there. And I shouldn't really be calling it sauce, because it's not really sauce. It's something that's going to soak into the tofu. But it's a nice color. It's like I don't even really know what kind of color I could explain it, but it smells really good. And as I've been putting in more and more vegetables, I have been putting in more and more seasonings. I haven't been putting that many seasonings in because of the fact that this is actually the first time in this recipe that I'm going to be putting a cheese product in there, or a dairy, this is the first time in this recipe that I'm actually going to be putting a cheese type product into it. Usually when I cook this, there's a lot more vegetables in here, and there's also a lot more seasonings in here because of the fact I don't use the cheese. So I haven't used even this brand of cheese before, so I want to make sure that I'm going to get the flavor of that cheese too. It's probably a peculiar, idea, but I'm pretty known to have peculiar ideas. Okay, so I wanted to show you the tofu before I actually put it in. Now see, I mean, it has a great texture. It's very firm, and I wanted to show you this too because it is great for like having cookouts if you want to do shish kebabs and stuff like that. I'm gonna put this in here. I'm gonna just like manhandle it and throw it in there. You can cut it any way you want. Just if you do put it into the frying pan without cutting it, it's just gonna take longer to get it if you want to have it look like a scrambled egg consistency. I'm really excited that the warm weather is here because I just planted a whole bunch of herbs for my herb garden. I planted like sweet marjoram, oregano, thyme. I planted more basil. I planted a bunch of other stuff too, tarragon, and well, a slew of other things, and they're just starting to come up. I noticed that when I went over to my herb garden to pick up some herbs for the tofu. On the tofu, I did say earlier not to put the seasonings on top of the tofu to have it cooking through the vegetables, which is very important. I did wait for the paprika to put on top of the tofu because the paprika is a little bit different than the rest of the herbs, and I wanted the paprika to actually be touching the tofu before I started cooking it. I'm also gonna put a freshly grated turmeric in there also. I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to show you what I was talking about before because sometimes I feel as though I explain things and I think I'm explaining it correctly and yet nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to keep on going like this until it gets to the consistency that I want as I flip it over and saturate it into all those wonderful juices that are in the bottom of the pan. And once it gets to how I like and I feel as though it's cooked enough where I can put in the spinach, I'm going to put in the spinach and the turmeric at the same time. This is just about done. It looks fantastic. It smells really good too. I put my spinach in. I'm just waiting for it to wilt a little bit more. I did grind up my turmeric, so my turmeric's in there too. You can see that the tofu now has like a nice yellow look to it, reminiscent a little bit of some scrambled eggs, I hope. That's thanks to the turmeric. Also, turmeric is really good for your digestive system. This is a breakfast dish. Well, I intend it as a breakfast dish. You can use it any way you'd like. You know, you could, if you are going to do it as a breakfast dish, you could use the char bread as toast. The char bread, actually, it toasts up really nice and it tastes really good. They also have a croissant type bread, that gluten-free bread that you can use. I know, excuse my pronunciation on croissant. This is the way that it comes out. I can't help it. You could also do it with like a side of vegetarian bacon or some vegetarian sausage. You could actually put the bacon and sausage in there if you want. You could do it with a side of pancakes. I'm going to get this off of here. I'm going to, now that this is done, I'm going to put a couple spoonfuls of that Treeline nut cheese in there, and then I'll get it on the plate and show you guys what it looks like. Ta-da! There it is. Tofu Scramble. And I'm going to have for my side some cherries. I hope you guys get to try this and you do enjoy it. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this week's edition of The Heathen Vegan. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, as always, leave a like. If you'd like to see more of my online gluten-free vegan cooking and baking, subscribe to my channel. And if you took this recipe and you tweaked it out and you made... And if you took this recipe and you tweaked it out and you made it something that's your own, I'd love to hear about it down below in the comments. If you have any ideas for future episodes or recipes, shoot me a comment down below also. Till next time, you guys, I do appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day. Thank you.